Hello there, a very good evening and a warm welcome to the news live here on Rupwahi. I'm Hasini Lian.
A very good evening indeed. I'm Javed Bongzo and we begin with the headlines of tonight's news.
The President says program of building a toxin-free country is being successfully implemented. The Prime Minister reiterates that the Sri Lankan ports will not be given for military purposes of foreign countries. JICA hails Sri Lanka's progress in a short period gaining economic stability. 4 new SLFP electoral organisers have been appointed to the Kurunegala district. Johnston Fernando loses his Nicabarati organiser's post. Police begin investigations into the disappearance of a person in Punchikulama, Anuradhapura. North Korea vows to defend itself by powerful force of arms.
Starting off with your top story in detail, President Maithripala Sirisena says the government's program of building a toxin-free country has gained successful results. Addressing a ceremony in Kandy today, he noted that the aim of the program is to rescue future generation from the drug menace. The President declared open the new building complex at Teldenia Base Hospital in Kandy. It was built with financial provisions of Japanese International Cooperation Agency and the Health Ministry. The new hospital building complex consists of a modern operation theatre, intensive care unit and judicial medical unit. The construction work of the building was launched in 2013 when President Maithripala Sirisena was holding the Health Ministerial portfolio. The President registered the first patient who was admitted to the new ward complex. President Maithripala Sirisena disclosed that the tax revenue from liquor and cigarettes has come down for the first time in the country's history. He added that for the first time in Sri Lanka, the Treasury reported to the Cabinet that the tax revenue from alcohol and tobacco has come down. Previously, there was an increase in tax revenue from cigarettes and alcohol. It is very important to reduce the sales of alcohol and cigarettes to build a healthy generation. Education and health are the barometers of a country. Healthy people will help the country to move forward competitively towards development. Sri Lanka has a good name in quality service, he said.
අඩුවීම. ඒක රටේ සෞඛ්‍ය සම්පන්න ජනතාවක් ගොඩනැගීමේදී ඉතාමත්ම වැදගත් දෙයක්. ඒ නිසා අපිට රටක් විදිහට අපේ රට ඉදිරියට ගෙන යන්න. මූලික වශයෙන්ම රටක සංවර්ධනයේ මිනුම් දන්න, අධ්‍යාපනය සහ සෞඛ්‍ය බව බලන්න. උගතුන් සහ සෞඛ්‍ය සම්පන්න නිරෝගී ජනතාවක් ඉන්නවා නම් ඒ රට වේගයෙන් ඉදිරියට යනවා. ඒ රට වේගයෙන් සංවර්ධනය වෙනවා. ඒ රට ලෝකේ තවත් ඉහළ සංවර්ධනයක් තිබෙන රටවල් එක්ක තරඟකාරීත්වයට සූදානම් වෙනවා. අපි සතුටු විය යුතුයි. අපේ සෞඛ්‍ය සේවාව ඉහළම ගුණාත්මක සේවාවක අද
Minister Lakshman Kiriyala, several ministers and MPs along with acting Japanese ambassador in Sri Lanka were present on the occasion.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says Sri Lankan ports will not be given for military purposes of foreign countries. He reiterates that Sri Lanka Navy bears the responsibility of maintaining security in local ports. He added that Sri Lanka is fully committed for peace and security in the region.
The rise of East Asia, ASEAN, South Asia, Middle East and Africa also encompasses the majority of the world population. And this is where you will find the rising middle class, the biggest consumer markets that will take place. The economic strength of the East Asian nations, ASEAN, India and the Middle East is considerable. It's going to take a large part of the global GDP by 2030, not talk of 2050. These nations are also, many of these nations are also building up their respective military forces, altering the power balances between Europe, America and the Asian countries. Your Parliamentary Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs, Shunsuke Takai, rightly said, Indo-Pacific is set to become the ocean of world trade. And in that Indo-Pacific region, the countries are becoming more assertive and having a bigger say in determining the regional economic architecture. Of all these countries, Japan is the most developed and has contributed immensely to the development of the region, both through its official development assistance program and through private investment. The time period is short, so it's a question of how the Japanese government with other governments in the two regions, in the two oceans, work out what the comprehensive plan is and how the connectivity is to be established in infrastructure, on ports, on roads, institutional infrastructure. And you have to remember that the foundation of prosperity requires not merely the intervention by the Japanese government in development assistance. It also requires the Japanese private sector, because you are investing in an emerging market and a market that is going to be larger than any other market. If you just take South Asia and the Bay of Bengal countries alone, that's a fairly big market, and we feel that there will be at least 250 million more people in the next 20-30 years. And it will be increasing a middle class market. If you are talking of two regions as an area of prosperity, of economic development, then the intervention is needed to raise the level of Indian Ocean countries. But that's where the markets are going to take place. The new developments are going to take place. The new population, the additional population, the population increases will come from. So those are the issues that have to be addressed by Japan. I use the word Japan. It's not only the government. I deliberately didn't use the word government. It has to be the government and the private sector and the people-to-people connectivity. So that will have a big say in influencing the world. This is the picture I see. Japan has a role, and how Japan fulfills it is the one that has to be worked out.
President of Japanese International Cooperation Agency Shinichi Kitaoka hailed Sri Lankan government's progress within a short period, directing the country towards a correct development path, re-establishing economic stability. He made this observation when he met the Sri Lankan Prime Minister and his delegation at Imperial Hotel in Tokyo. He revealed that Kandy City Development Plan and preliminary reports on light train system are now being prepared. Discussions were also centered on obtaining JICA assistance to set up higher education institutes, Bogambara Cultural Center, and the production of drinking water from seawater. Japan-Sri Lanka Parliamentary Friendship Association pledges to extend their maximum support for Sri Lanka's development. Chairman of the association, Wataru Takeshita, says it is essential to plan the course of action to work closely in the future based on historic relations between the two countries. Mr. Takeshita was speaking at the banquet hosted by his association in honor of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is now in Japan on an official tour. Leaders of the two countries faced a group photograph before the meeting at Okura Hotel in Tokyo. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe paid a tribute to Japan-Sri Lanka Parliamentary Friendship Association for the support extended to Sri Lanka since the regime of former Japanese Prime Minister Obuchi. He extended an invitation to the association to make a visit to Sri Lanka.
Minister Dr. Rajitha Senaratne says the government has given a solution acceptable for all on Saitam issues. Addressing a ceremony in Theldenia Kandy today, he reiterated that the government is not prepared to take decisions in accordance with the needs of Government Medical Officers Association. Minister Dr. Rajitha Senaratne said that the head of the Government Medical Officers Association has spoken to Director General of Health, Dr. Jayasundara Bandara. He has told Dr. Padania that he will have to work in accordance with the government regulations. Then Dr. Padania told him that they will come to power in 3 months. He cannot come into power, but that he meant was that the former president will come into power. That is why they are going to stop Saitam. A better solution was given by health authorities, the Senate and the others to settle this matter. This hospital will be taken over by the government to operate it as a free hospital. An examination will be conducted by the UGC, the Senate and Medical Council, and those who have passed this examination will be given to practice as doctors.
Sri Lanka Freedom Party has appointed new electoral and district organisers of the party for the Kurunegala district. They received their appointment letters from President Maithripala Sirisena at President's House today. Chief Minister Dharmasiri Dasanayake has been appointed as the new organizer of Bingiri electorate. Mr. Dayasiri Jayasekara is the organizer of Panduasnura electorate. Jayaratna Herath has been appointed as the Polgahawala electoral organizer, while Lakshman Vendarua as the organizer of Kurunegala electorate. Gunadas Dehegama, Anuradha Sampath Hevage and MSM Fahim are the new district organizers. General Secretary of Sri Lanka's Freedom Party, Minister Duminda Disanayake, was present.
Johnston Fernando has been removed from the post of SLP Nikavarati organizer. Minister Mahinda Amaravira disclosed that Deputy Minister Indika Bandaranayaka is the new organizer of the electorate. He added that the party has decided to remove all weak organizers of the SLFP. The minister made this revelation to media following a discussion held at SLFP headquarters in Colombo today. It was convened to discussion on May Day arrangements with Colombo District electoral organisers and party activists. Colombo District Leader Minister Susil Premajayantha was also present.
A cabinet subcommittee has been appointed to provide relief for media personnel who were victimized during the period of 2005 to 2015. This was revealed by Mass Media Minister Gayantha Karunatilaka. Minister Gayantha Karunatilaka paid an observation visit to Lake House and held cordial discussions with officials. He also inspected the editorial and production sections at Lake House. He also extended his well wishes to employees for the new year. He said that measures have been taken to submit a report with the aim of providing relief for media personnel who were victimized during the period of 2005 to 2015. A three-member ministerial subcommittee has been appointed by the President to take further action towards this end. It will submit its report by the 1st of May.
A delegation comprising the members of European Union has arrived in Sri Lanka yesterday to review the current situation in the island nation ahead of a meeting scheduled in Brussels on re-granting GSP Plus facility. Reportedly, a special discussion on granting the European Union's Generalised Scheme of References Plus, known as GSP Plus facility, will be held in Brussels on 19th April. The EU delegation will study the present situation in Sri Lanka, including the development, reconciliation and political stability. Thereafter, the delegation will present a report on its observations during the discussion in Brussels. The European Commission in January proposed that the GSP Plus should be granted to Sri Lanka once again after withdrawing it in 2010 due to the poor human rights record in the country.
And the European Union has granted 6,791 million rupees to Sri Lanka. The relevant agreement was signed by the Finance Ministry Secretary and the EU Ambassador in Sri Lanka. The European Union financial assistance is to be used for the modernization of Sri Lanka's agriculture industry and reconciliation process. The capacity of state institutions connected to agriculture industry will be further improved with EU assistance. New packaging systems are to be introduced under this initiative. Infrastructure facilities will be developed using the EU financial grant. Necessary programs will be implemented to improve relations between the government and people of grassroots level under the Reconciliation Initiative. This was the result of an agreement reached at the EU Foreign Affairs Council in 2015.
Now let's have a look around Asia in a minute. An Indonesian court adjourns the blasphemy trial of Jakarta Governor Basuki Cahayapurnama after the prosecution says it is not ready for the sentencing request. Tibetan spiritual leader Dalai Lama departs from the remote Indian hill town of Tawang at the end of a visit to the sensitive region controlled by New Delhi but also claimed by Beijing. South Korean and US troops held a joint logistics drill today in Pahang amid high tensions in the Korean peninsula. About 2,500 US soldiers and 1,200 South Korean soldiers along with 50 vessels are participating in the Operation Pacific Reach drill, which is due to last until April 21st. Curious cuisine enthusiasts lined up outside Tokyo's ramen restaurant Nagi on Sunday, April 9th to try ramen served with insects. Elephants in Thailand's Asian capital Ayutthaya sprayed water from their trunks at people today ahead of the start of Thailand's traditional New Year.
In keeping with age-old customs and traditions, the document containing the auspicious times for the New Year was handed over to President Maithripala Sirisena at President's House today.
Ekavanva pelagasu Ilankeshwarayanang veta Gaurava Purasarava
The Nagat Seat tour was presented to the President by Minister S.B. Navin and Minister Secretary D. Swarnapala. Minister Dumindu Dissanayake and Western Province Chief Minister Isra Devapriya were present.
Products of the local planters have fetched a high price as a result of increasing the demand for tea and rubber in the international market. This was disclosed by Plantation Industries Minister Navin Dissanayake today. The demand for tea and rubber in the international market has been increased to considerable level after 1.5 years. A kilo of green tea leaves could be sold at a price of 80 rupees. It has fetched a price of 40 rupees earlier. A kilogram of RSS1 rubber has been increased to 300 rupees from 180 rupees. Under this setup, tea and rubber cultivations are now very keen on properly maintaining their cultivations. The quality of tea being exported to Russia from Sri Lanka has also been increased as a result of strengthening economic ties between Sri Lanka and Russia recently. Minister Navin Dissanayake said that measures will be taken to uplift the plantation industry, providing clear-cut solution for problems of local tea and rubber producers.
Police media spokesman DIG Priyantha Jayakodi says a comprehensive investigation is now underway to ascertain as to whether the disappearance of a person in Punchikulama in Anuradhapura was an abduction or not. Police say that there were several cases against this person. The police are also trying to find out as to whether this person named Ajanta Pushpakumar is absconding. Wife of Pushpakumara was lodged a complaint at Ipalogama police claiming that a group of unidentified persons has abducted her husband on the 9th of this month. According to media reports today, this person had been abducted. Police media spokesman DIG Priyantha Jayakodi said that 5 criminal cases were filed against this person by Kakirava police. Investigations revealed that he was involved in 2 robberies and 1 assault case. This vehicle was registered under the name of a government servant in Novara area. Investigations are underway to find out as to whether it was a false number plate. Wife of the disappeared person has made a complaint claiming that she suspects the police for taking her husband into custody forcibly. It is premature to determine as to whether this was an abduction or he has gone for a group willingly.
Efforts are being made to secure the release of trawlers impounded by Sri Lanka. Rajya Sabha member and senior party leader L. Ganeshan says the release of trawlers will be possible ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Sri Lanka. Mr. Ganeshan said the Prime Minister was scheduled to visit Sri Lanka very soon and talks were held with the Sri Lankan government to secure the release of more than 140 boats ahead of his visit. He said that the Tamil Nadu government has offered to repair the damaged boats. The Sri Lankan authorities refused to release the boats, taking the stand that fishermen would again trespass into their waters if they release the boats. However, talks are being held to secure the release of the boats, he said. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj was keen on finding a solution to the issue at the earliest, and a suggestion of weaning fishermen from deep-sea fishing to resolve the issue was received by the fishermen delegation which met in Delhi on March 21st. Silk Air, the regional wing of Singapore Airlines, has launched its inaugural flight to Colombo, the capital of Sri Lanka, joining its parent carrier in serving the route. The inaugural M1428 flight departed at 8:50 a.m. from Singapore Changi Airport and arrived at Colombo Bandaranaike International Airport at 10:05 a.m. last Friday. Silk Air will operate the route with 3 flights per week, taking over Singapore Airlines service as the SIA Group further consolidates resources. The thrice-weekly flights to Colombo are scheduled on Wednesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays, with the same day returning flights operating as M1427. The services will be operated with Boeing 737-800 aircraft, featuring both business class and economic class cabins. The new Silk Air service complements Singapore Airlines' current daily flights to Colombo. Singapore Airlines will continue to operate its daily night flight SQ468 and return flight SQ469. Together, Silk Air and Singapore Airlines will offer a total of 10 round-trip services a week.
The Urban Development Authority has launched development projects worth 900 billion rupees last year. These projects are being implemented with the aim of achieving government sustainable development targets. The construction work buildings under various mixed development projects is now being carried out in the city of Colombo. These projects are being implemented in close collaboration between the government and the private sector. Industrial and investment opportunities in the country have been expanded in the country on bilateral agreements reached by the present government with several leading countries in the world. Therefore, Urban Development Authority pointed out that it has been able to implement development projects to the value of 900 billion rupees last year. Senior Professor Tishan Jayasinghe says buildings which are being constructed in accordance with sustainable development policies will only be used as government buildings in the future.
Minister Mahinda Amaraveera claims that certain private channels have become talk shops at present. Therefore, he noted that people have now attracted to state media to gain true information on the country's development. Minister Mahinda Amaraveera made these observations when he participated in the launching ceremony of the construction work of two rural villages in Angunukola Palasa and Hambantota. New bridges are being built, replacing dilapidated wooden bridges in Amaratunga Gama and Andupalana villages. These two bridges were imported from Britain at a cost of over 58 million rupees. Minister Amaraveera said that the state media always gives prominence for speeches made by ministers and MPs, but other television channels are used to create rift among politicians by highlighting views expressed by them in a conflicting manner. The responsibility of the media is to disseminate correct information.
The Immigration and Refugee Board in Canada has ordered the deportation of a Sri Lankan man accused of killing his wife, Radio Canada reported. Sivaloganathan Thanabalasingham can, however, file an appeal against the order, a process which could take up to 4 years. The Commission has also ruled that Thanabalasingham will remain in custody at least until the reassessment of his case on Thursday. Counsel for Sivaloganathan Thanabalasingham argued that the ongoing proceedings could last up to 4 years. The lawyer added that his client's family was in Canada and that he is not likely to flee. He was arrested in August 2012 after Anuja Bhaskaran's body was found in their apartment in the Ahuntsic neighborhood of Montreal. The woman in her 20s had been stabbed at the throat many times.
Now on your stock update for the day. The All Shares Price Index closed at 6,305.54 points, increased by 12.60 points, and the S&P SL 20 Index closed at 3,588.89 points, also increased by 7.26 points at the end of trading in the Colombo Stock Exchange today. Turnover was over 281 million rupees.
Welcome back, and in foreign stories, North Korea has said it will defend itself by powerful force of arms in response to the US deployment of a Navy strike group to the Korean peninsula. Said the deployment showed reckless moves for invading had reached a serious phase. The US Pacific Command says it is aimed at maintaining readiness in the region. President Trump has said the US is prepared to act alone to deal with the nuclear threat from North Korea. Meanwhile, South Korea and China, who is North Korea's closest ally, have warned of more stringent sanctions if Pyongyang conducts more missile tests. The Carl Vinson strike group comprises an aircraft carrier and other warships. It is due to make port calls in Australia, but instead has been diverted from Singapore to the West Pacific, where it recently conducted exercises with the South Korean Navy. The US naval deployment showed North Korea had the right to develop nuclear weapons capability for the use in self-defense or on a preemptive strike. The statement added on Monday China's envoy for the Korean peninsula, Wu Dawai, met with South Korea's foreign minister and top nuclear envoy.
Now we move on to some international news in brief. G7 foreign ministers will attempt to agree a common position on the Syrian conflict before the US Secretary of State flies to Russia to try to persuade it to abandon its Syrian ally. Rex Tillerson will also meet officials from elite Middle Eastern countries before heading to Moscow. The UK has suggested threatening tightly focused sanctions on Russian and Syrian military officers. The moves follow the latest apparent use of chemical weapons in Syria. Somali security forces have rescued an Indian cargo ship seized by pirates earlier this month. By the hijackers took the 9 of the 11-men crew when they fled ashore. They are thought to be being held near the city of Hobyo. The Al-Kauza was one of the 3 vessels to be hijacked after a 5-year lull. On Sunday, sailors from the Indian, Pakistani and Chinese navies freed the crew of a Tual-registered vessel which had been boarded by pirates. The CEO of United Airlines has said that employees followed established procedures in an incident which saw a passenger dragged off a plane. In a letter to employees obtained by US media, Oscar Munoz said he was upset to see and hear about what happened, but he said that the passenger had been disruptive and belligerent. The airline earlier said that it was investigating what happened after videos of the incident provoked an outcry on social media.
And in sports news, Hashim Amla slammed his second 50 while Glenn Maxwell hit an unbeaten 43 to help Kings 11 Punjab to beat Royal Challengers Bangalore by 8 wickets. This was their second consecutive win in 2017 Indian Premier League tournament played at Holkar Stadium. Royal Challengers Bangalore won the toss and elected to bat first. Kings 11 Punjab pace bowlers dominated the early proceedings, taking the first 3 wickets for a mere 22 runs. A.B. de Villiers top scored with 89 runs with 9 sixes and 3 fours. Sandeep Singh made 28. Varun Aaron took 2 wickets. Akshar Patel and Sandeep Sharma took 1 wicket each. Kings 11 Punjab reached the winning target of 150 runs in 14.3 overs, losing 2 wickets.
Before wrapping up the news tonight, on your weather forecast, the Met Department says that showery conditions is expected to enhance next few days, particularly in 13th and 14th April. Showers or thunder showers will occur at most provinces of the island after 2 p.m.
And that's it for tonight's news. Do watch us tomorrow at the very same time. Good night.
Good night.